The original drawing is from Paul Davies, and then yeah, it's one of these ideas about this membrane theory, and then I like also when the tension is so much in one of the membrane, you know, it kind of appears as sphere. This, I mean, it comes back to this idea of yeah, cosmic phone and what had happened before the origin of the universe and from what is made, and then go back to really kind of a quantic scale and kind of other questions. You know, one of the things which I always kind of get inspired is about this idea of, you know, multiple universes, and this, I mean, and then what it comes also the idea about this membrane theory or M theory. This, I mean, you know, is always, and then you can go back to Borges. I will read it now in Italian. Il giardino dei sentieri che si bifurcano. No, it was one of kind of the books also who kind of start with this idea of yeah, multiplicity and possible parallel universes. It means you never know what you do, an action here might repercute in some other universe in this possible theory. And this way also what it happened when you enter, you know, you are suspended quite high, like almost 20 meters from the ground, and there are kind of 3 different membranes. Does it mean when you walk in one of the membranes, in the top one, you squeeze the membrane under? It's kind of a lasagna. It's something that you really kind of, by your own weight, entering to the part of the installation, you know, at the same time it generates form and space, because if you don't enter with your own weight, you know, all the 3 layers are squeezed one to each other. This means yourself and your own body which kind of shape the space around you, and also deform the space of the other people which are walking. Does it mean, you know, it's like, let's say, due to maybe the butterfly effect, right? You know, like a butterfly spinning some wings here might produce a tornado somewhere else. Does it mean it's somehow, and hopefully, will sensibilize this kind of, you know, entangled relationship that we have maybe with the planet Earth and between us. When you ask me, people, what is made a sculpture? Well, I would say 7,000 cubic meters of air. When you enter the piece, I mean, one of the things which first happen is when you open one door and the second door, you know, a big flow of air will come. This means what happens is really kind of your hair, maybe it kind of turn around and can start to move. And then, you know, what it happens when you open it, sometimes people will forget the door open. Does it mean there is a huge volume of air which is going out? Does it mean you kind of first feel that inside the room there is something which is air at another pressure, which normally we breathe. And then I think so that the other thing, you will see the people up there, somehow they will start to fall, because then you will understand, oh my God, you know, as long as I leave the 2 doors open, the people up there is what is, thanks to the air that they are kind of floating above us. Does it mean there is this kind of, it starts already like a kind of a codependency about like the people which enter in the lower layer and the layers on the top. And this is what it somehow the first maybe relationship that you can establish for very 2 different parts of the piece somehow, and both of them kind of completely destabilize the work, because, you know, there is one moment where people are on, you know, on this layer, and then there are other 2 layers which I never have done it and never have done it in this dimension. This means it's quite new, and I don't know, and it's kind of, for me, I take it like a really kind of an experiment piece, because I hope so everything will work, but also what it means to work in a certain direction. Does it mean it's not only like the movement of the people upstairs, which each movement of the people affect, which are kind of inhabit the piece itself, but also the people which enter in the lower part. Does it mean it's the same breath of air that each of us breathe, allowed somehow to breathe the piece itself. I don't know, there is this story, for example, in a book of I think so is Cosmos from Carl Sagan, where is this story that, and I think it's the original story from Stanislav Lem, and then there are people on Earth trying to see if there is life in another planet, and they build up like a telescope. The first day or year or whatever of this dimension, they look through it and they say, well, there is nothing going on there. The next year they build it a little bit bigger. They look again, trying to see if there is life or somewhere, and then nothing, and then they keep doing it bigger and bigger, and then there is a moment that the telescope is so huge, you can say like maybe the square array kilometer telescope that they're building in Chile, but you know, let's imagine that it's bigger and bigger, the telescope, but there is a moment that the others ones see first the telescope on Earth, that we through the telescope see the other one. I mean, there is always this kind of inverse, maybe relationship, and also maybe my attitude towards doing the things. You know, you try to do something in a certain direction, but at the end you discover that what you do helps to see something else that you did not expect it. It's all about this open source way of collaborate to do something, you know, and somehow, and you know, go back to vernacular architecture, but you know, there is some kind of an embedded knowledge in between people and society, which somehow, you know, have to be triggered by something to understand that really we kind of, it's necessary to collaborate, and it's necessary to communicate, and it's necessary to understand how much the movement that I do affect the movement of the other one. Proxemia, no? Proxemia is the use of the space that make each culture in relationship with their other. You know, I mean, you can just very, very simple say, oh, you go to the subway in Paris, and then you have the feeling of smelling, and maybe the distance is different. But then he tried to really measure it, and then say like how the space is used in relationship with the know-how and the knowledge that you have, and the behavior of. You know, it's something that you somehow you can balance also how people behave in relationship with each other is not only, let's say in this case, the volume and the way that we were thinking. I like the idea that in the future we might be able to also build cloud cities, and cities which might simulate clouds, and then also how is the way also how we communicate, travel, and you know, there is something today which is going on in a level of the atmosphere which they are trying to build this kind of high altitude platform. This I mean, it will not only be, you know, this kind of possibility of cloud cities, not only the possibility of physically inhabit, but also, you know, if you think about a satellite or how internet is built upon, and then, you know, it's like, and where, in which area today are communicated, and you know, and it's a very cheap alternative of building satellites. It's much more easy to deploy, it costs much less. This I mean, you know, and what this brings also to people living in another floating city, which is the planet Earth today. This I mean, is also like a kind of something which you could inhabit in one way or another. But yeah, but I'm very enthusiastic to think like that will be like kind of the first prototype of first molecular, or first module, or first kind of layer of a membrane. You can later add it to another one, and then you can add it to another one, and then slowly it could form a kind of a possibility of a flying city.